welcome into this week's episode of Craze's Corner. We have a wide receiver special today. We're going to be going through 3 wide receiver rooms, talking about maybe some guys that are on the rise, maybe some guys that are on the fall, and which guys in those receiver rooms we're confident with. We're going to be talking about the Panthers wide receiver room with the new emergence of Andy Dalton. We're going to be talking about the Dolphins wide receiver room with whoever they have throwing the ball over there. And we have the Packers wide receiver room who should be getting a healthy Jordan Love back this week. So with that being said, we have Zach from Ocean State and Jeff and Will from Media. How are we doing, guys?
Doing great.
We got Zach's team over there in shambles. And we got Media, supporting Jeff, supporting the Seahawks 3-0. Will, the Vikings 3-0. The Panthers are undefeated with Andy Dalton at quarterback. So three teams going the right way. One team maybe not so much. But like I said, we're going to talk about at least 2 of our teams here. So we'll start off with the Panthers wide receiver room. We saw Andy Dalton come in, first quarterback this season to throw for 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns, which is crazy to think about in what we have as a passing league. He's the first quarterback to do it so far this year, and he was able to get Diontae Johnson to a career high in yards. Diontae Johnson also currently leads the NFL in end zone targets. That's with Bryce Young and Andy Dalton, but obviously it was a little rough the first 2 weeks. So with what we've seen last week, I like Diontae Johnson going forward. You're looking at a team that now has Adam Thielen on IR, so he's at least out 4 games. So you have Diontae Johnson as the pretty much number 1 and only option in this offense at the moment until either Xavier Legette or Jonathan Mingo comes forward. But for me at this point, I think Diontae Johnson's probably a low-end wide receiver 1 until Adam Thielen comes back, because I just think the targets are going to be there, the receptions, the yardage, everything's going to be there. And like I said, he leads the NFL in end zone targets, which are extremely important for fantasy. So for me, I'm fully in on Diontae Johnson. And if I had to take a shot on one of the other guys, it would be Xavier Legette. I just think that they're going to try and get him worked in. But I think that's more of a deeper league shot. I'm not sure how long Andy Dalton can stay hot for, but he will be good this week against the Bengals because the Bengals defense sucks. And Andy Dalton obviously going to want to show out against his former team. Zach, what do you think about Diontae Johnson, or is there anyone else you're interested in here?
Honorable mention to Tommy Tremble. But outside of that, I think Diontae Johnson's probably the only Panthers wide receiver you're going to feel confident starting for the foreseeable future. The pumpkin effect is going to happen with Andy Dalton. He's going to revert back to Andy Dalton. These stories are always great. We remember what happened with Joe Flacco last year when things kind of came to a head there. So for now, though, Diontae Johnson is kind of one of those sneaky wide receivers that you probably drafted in a position you weren't so happy with the last couple of weeks. You're probably feeling a lot better now with the quarterback change. But just a matter of time, I think.
I got him on waivers in a 10-team league this past week because someone had dropped him because they saw what was happening with Bryce Young and the Panthers offense just wasn't doing anything, so they dropped him and moved on. So he might have been on your waivers this week, so hopefully you did pick him up. Will, Jeff, what do you guys think about Panthers wide receivers? Are you in on Diontae Johnson as being like a wide receiver 1 or 2, confident starting them, or you like someone else?
I have a little bit of confidence now, but I need a bigger body. Not only, just like Zach said, the pumpkin effect with Andy Dalton, but it was against the Raiders. So I'm just like, the Raiders, they'll show up big 1 week, and next week a high school team can throw, 4 touchdowns on them. So that's the thing. Let's see what happens this week with the Bengals. I'm not sure if I'm rushing. If I had Diontae Johnson, I'm rushing him into my lineup. I want to wait and see what happens this week. And then it might be a sell high option for me as well.
See, after the Bengals just allowed the Commanders to have 4 touchdowns, no punts, Terry McLaurin just had his breakout game. I think if you're going to start Diontae Johnson, this is the week you feel most confident with him, just due to the fact that we saw Jayden Daniels throw all over this this defense. And the Bengals offense hasn't been great, but the Bengals offense had 4 touchdowns and no turnovers and were the first team to ever lose a game throwing for having 4 touchdowns and having no turnovers. The first team ever to lose a game with that stat. So this is a defense that's not good. The Panthers offensive line has been, one of the best offensive lines in the league so far this year. second in pass or pressure rate. So when you're looking at this defense that is not good, they can't cover. I think Andy Dalton's going to have another good week this week. So I'm starting Diontae Johnson's probably my favorite start of the week. Unfortunately, I only have him in a couple leagues, but I think he's going to really show out. And then they play the Bears, the Falcons, the Commanders. So those are going to be the games that Adam Thielen's definitely going to miss. And I'm pretty confident with Diontae. Jaylen Johnson, will he follow Diontae around the field? Possibly. But I do like those four matchups for sure. Will, what do you think?
I'd say so. Maybe from a dynasty perspective, I'm optimistic about Carolina's wide receivers, and I think now with Andy there, at least you get to see the potential of the rest of the team. That was my problem with Bryce Young having Leggett on our dynasty league, right? So how do you really value those rookie receivers or the younger guys like Mingo? So now, from a dynasty perspective, I think you get a good taste of what this team can be with a competent quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see Leggett now that Adam Thielen's out. He's going to get more time with the ball, so we'll see. Hopefully he can make some big plays here. The next team we're going to talk about is the Dolphins wide receivers. I'm in a spot I just traded for Tyreek Hill. I don't really need him at this point in the season. I'm going to be okay when Tua comes back. But until Tua comes back, are you guys confident? Even I'm benching Jaylen Waddle in the league this week because he's had 2 bad weeks. Maybe it's Tyler Huntley this week, which is probably best case scenario as opposed to what we've seen in Miami with Skylar Thompson. But even Snoop, I'm not 100% confident he's going to be able to support Tyreek Hill and Waddle as well as Achane. So I'm a little nervous. Zach, what are your thoughts of being a Dolphins fan on this offense if it's Snoop or somebody else? And who are you going to be starting? Is it Tyreek and Achane or also Waddle or no one?
The saving grace, even with having Skylar Thompson, was Devon Achane back there because Skylar Thompson just can't see pressure. He can't really read the field. So what's the easy thing to do in that situation is to check down to a wide receiver who's almost like a hybrid player at this point with Devon Achane. I wouldn't feel comfortable starting any Miami Dolphins player, but if you put me in a position where I have to start one of them, I'm going to start Tyreek Hill because if you're scheming up a game plan, you might as well try to force feed Tyreek. Now, with the whole cover 2 shell shenanigans going on, the Dolphins are one of those teams that just cannot move the ball against this defense now. And I'm not sure if much is going to change with Snoop. And if anything, I think that hurts Devon Achane now because traditional running quarterbacks tend to take off with the ball instead of just checking it down. Mm-hmm. I think there was bad. I told you guys before, and I told everybody else that was listening. I did not feel good about this team going into the season. And it's just a carryover effect of what happened. And to your point about Jaylen Waddle, he didn't look good with Tua. So it's like, how do you even feel confident with a guy off the street who's learning a very complex playbook? Everyone likes to say that Tua, has just the exotic weapons, but at the end of the day, if you don't know how to run that offense, you saw the results, and it was Skylar Thompson just playing like absolute dog shit last week. So yeah, I don't know if that necessarily answered your question, but there's no confidence on that offense right now at all.
Uh-oh.
I couldn't tell if Zach was just staring at me or
he froze up a little bit. It's so sad though, Zach, that these wide receivers, everybody rightfully drafted them high, especially in redraft leagues, right? And now you're like, oh God, what do I do all year? Is there even a way out?
Yeah.
Your league might be done.
Yeah, and the caveat to all of this is I don't think we see Tua play this year. Yeah. We're going to be out of playoff contention by the time he's even cleared to see the field. And if this organization cares so much about him, they want to kiss him on his forehead, then they're probably going to hold him unless there is a 85% chance or higher that we're going to be playoff bound, which we're not going to be. So I think even if you're that, like to Zach's point, if you're waiting on Tua to come back, I don't know if there's really much to be excited for when he does return.
Yeah.
I think Tyreek Hill will be consistent once Tua comes back. Waddle will probably be iffy, and you'll have to be week to week depending on the matchup. But I think Tyreek will be, he won't be doing what he did last week with like 5 points. I think he'll be back to at least double-digit points. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely not going to be, Tua's going to have to be more concerned.
Uh-oh.
Which maybe bodes well for Devon.
Yeah.
Well, that's the $1 million question. If Tua comes back, that's why they need to just move on to Dolphins country. Let's ride.
Oh my God. Yeah, please. Yeah, please. That way this season can officially be the worst thing to ever happen to me.
I mean, the Steelers don't seem to need Justin Fields, or they seem to need Russell Wilson, so you might as well. You guys could go sign Cam Newton. I hear he's free and willing to play for a team. Or Ryan Tannehill, you could go bring him back. You got some options there.
Yeah, let's just tank.
Let's move on. We got one more wide receiver room we want to talk about. Just quickly, which guy from the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room are we most excited about going forward? Jordan Love should hopefully be back this week off the injury. With that being said, we've seen him have success with Christian Watson. We've seen him have success with Jayden Reed. We've seen a multitude of guys in this offense have success. For me, I like Jayden Reed because of the way they utilize him. They get him involved in the running game, in the passing game. We've seen it even with Malik Willis. Jayden Reed can still be good because of how they utilize him. It's a little bit more wishy-washy for Christian Watson. So for me, I like Jayden Reed. Do you guys feel the same as Jayden Reed, your guy in this, or do you guys prefer Christian Watson?
Oh no.
I have Reed and I also have Wicks. I think I'm actually trying to get Wicks from a couple of people, gone ahead and gotten out on him because I think him and Jordan Love got a thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Football-wise.
We want Jayden Reed from the Packers. We don't want any of the Dolphins' weapons until Tua's back. Yeah. And we like Diontae Johnson in Carolina. So there's 3 wide receiver rooms we've broken down. Lots of question marks in those wide receiver rooms. Hopefully we helped clear it up a little bit. We have a running back show as well, so you can go check that out. It's posted on the channel where we're going to discuss 3 running back rooms where people definitely have some questions. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you, Zach, Will, and Jeff for joining me. Like I said, go check out the next episode. Thank you.
Dolphins country. Let's drown.
Let's drown.
Let's swim.